While there is much to say about how Billy Graham conducted himself as a human being over the years, there is no doubt that the superstar was a pioneer in professional wrestling. So much of what we saw in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, even right up until this very day, is thanks to Billy Graham and his superstar gimmick. Whatever you may think of him outside of the ring, wrestling today would likely be a very different landscape if it wasn't for the superstar's innovative promos. Billy Graham was an innovator in many ways, from bringing the bodybuilder phsyique to the WWF to becoming the first heel in the company to have a lengthy title run. This will be the topic of our video today: Superstar Billy Graham, the WWF title, and also when he dropped the gold to Bob Backlund. Billy Graham developed his superstar gimmick in the AWA and found great success with the persona. Inspired by how Muhammad Ali would promote fights and talk people in the arenas, Graham followed suit and became extremely effective on the mic. Not only this, Billy Graham had a great body, something that wasn't seen often in wrestling during the 70s. Billy was also trained at the legendary Heart Dungeon in Calgary, so he was no slouch in the ring either. Billy got work in the WWF, then known as the WWWF, in October in 1975, but had his first big run with the company in 1977. Graham, by this point, had made a big name for himself with Vern Gagne's AWA and other NWA promotions, so he was able to join Vince McMahon Sr.'s company with a few perks. He was guaranteed a lengthy run with the WWF Championship, something that was unheard of for a heel wrestler. Back then, it was the babyfaces who held the title mainly, with Bruno Sammartino being the prime example. Many old school fans look back on April 30th, 1977 as a changing of the guard. Others look back and see it as a night when one of WWE's all-time legends was a victim of robbery. No matter what way you look at it, the April 30th, 1977 WWF Championship match between the champion Bruno Sammartino and challenger superstar Billy Graham has over the years become as legendary as the two superstars who competed in the match. The match ended when Superstar rolled Sammartino onto his shoulders, and with his own feet illegally on the ropes for additional leverage, Graham scored a tainted 3 count to win the WWF Championship. Sammartino and the majority of the fans in attendance were outraged by what just took place. Nothing could change the fact that on this night though, the Superstar conquered the all-dominating living legend. During his reign, superstar Billy Graham wrestled across America and Japan, facing challengers such as the former champion Bruno Sammartino, Jack Briscoe, Dusty Rhodes, Pedro Morales, Don Morocco and Mil Mascaras. On the 25th of January in 1978 in Miami, Florida, Graham wrestled against the NWA World Heavyweight Champion Harley Race in a WWF World Heavyweight Championship versus NWA World Heavyweight Championship unification match. This was a big deal. This happened on a night that was known as the Super Bowl of Wrestling, a name now given to the annual WrestleMania events. This wasn't the first Super Bowl of Wrestling cross-promotion event, but it was definitely the most memorable. Graham and Harley Race went to a 60-minute time limit draw during a 3-fall matchup. Graham got the first fall via submission, and Harley got the second via pin near the 45-minute mark. We never got a decisive winner as the time limit expired in dramatic fashion. Harley Race had Billy Graham in a sleeper in the final moments of the match, and just as Graham's shoulders went to the mat and the ref began a pin count, the time limit was up and no undisputed champion was crowned. Superstar Billy Graham was living up to his name during this time period. He was on top in New York, making good money and enjoying the fame that came along with selling out Madison Square Garden multiple times. Try as he might to stop it from happening though, things would soon go downhill for superstar Billy Graham. In February of 1978, Billy Graham knew that he was scheduled to lose the title to Bob Backlund, a babyface that Vince Sr. wanted to push as the all-American good boy. Graham, however, was getting fond of being champion and he didn't want to give up his title. It's been reported that Superstar approached Vince Sr. and suggested that he turned babyface and held on to the title, something that Vince Sr. was against. Vince Sr. had already advised Backlund that he was going to be the next champion and he didn't want to go back on his word. And on top of this, the idea of superstar Billy Graham now turning babyface would be a hard sell for audiences in the late 70s. Billy Graham was always seen as a cocky heel character, and Vince Sr., along with other promoters, felt that the superstar could never be a role model for younger audiences this late into his character development. Whether he liked it or not, and he didn't like it, superstar Billy Graham was dropping the title to Bob Backlund. Quote Backlund: "The day of the match, superstar Billy Graham was still trying to talk Vince out of putting the championship on me. They, the old-time promoters, had a thing years ago that you had to put money down to secure that you would give the belt back, so they talked him into coming to me and asking if I had X amount of dollars. I didn't live above my means and nobody ever thought I had a dime, but I had enough money to do that, so I said, 'Vince, do you want a check or do you want cash?' Vince then told them I promised Bob Backlund that he was going to get the championship and he was going to get it no matter what you think, and you'll never change my mind. That man became a father to me." Graham eventually lost the title to Backlund on February 20th, 1978, but it wasn't without controversy. Superstar had his foot on the rope during the final 3 count, something the referee didn't see, but it didn't matter on this night. Graham had tried to politic his way into keeping the gold and it didn't work. Backlund was now champ and the Superstar wasn't happy. So unhappy was Billy Graham, he left the company later that year, and he has since said he left because he dropped the title to Backlund. Quote Billy Graham: "Vince McMahon Sr. was afraid that I was too big to be a babyface. I just tried to convince him that of course I could sell, and that I could talk and I could entertain the folks. But he was committed to the old tradition, old school tradition. So Backlund was basically force fed to the folks for almost 5 years." Superstar disappeared from New York but went on to work for other promotions and also found work in Japan. He took time away from the ring during 1980 and 1981, and it's no secret that the Superstar had issues during this time period. Graham returned to the now renamed World Wrestling Federation in September of 1982, but fans who were expecting the old Superstar character would be left disappointed, confused and shocked. Billy Graham came back as a karate master. Yep, the one thing that carried Billy Graham in the business for years, his character, was now gone. Gone also was his instantly recognisable blonde hair and sideburns, gone was the tie-dye shirts, and also gone was his huge physique. What you may be surprised to learn here is that this new gimmick wasn't a request made by the office, but it was more like Billy Graham sabotaging himself and his own chances of success. Billy Graham said, "What led me into the martial arts deal was that I decided that I'd come back and give it another run, but I was not going to come back and be the original Superstar Billy Graham, who had New York in the palm of his hand. I just refused to come back and be the original Superstar Billy Graham because I knew, obviously, that I wasn't getting the belt back. I just decided to come back as a non-person, a flat monotone karate expert that meant absolutely nothing. It was nothing even close to Superstar Billy Graham." Graham hadn't taken a karate lesson in his life, and his return match definitely didn't hide this fact. In his autobiography, Graham said that Vince McMahon Jr. did not know he was going to debut as this karate character, and he was apparently seething with anger when Billy Graham came to the ring to work in his return match as a master of karate. Vince and Pat Patterson ripped into Graham backstage after the match. The damage was already done though, and the WWF would just have to roll on with this gimmick for the former Superstar Billy Graham. Graham was able to resume his feud with Backlund, where Graham destroyed Backlund's WWF Championship belt, but in the end Graham was not booked to defeat Bob Backlund, and thus Billy Graham didn't win any further gold with the WWF. Superstar Billy Graham's issues became too much and he left the WWF in 1983, just 1 year after debuting as the Karate Master Billy Graham. He returned to the AWA and NWA for a few years, where the Superstar gimmick was able to make a comeback, and Billy Graham was also, almost like magic, able to bulk up again and regain loads of the muscle mass he had lost during his stint as the Karate Master. We will definitely look more into Billy Graham's career in the future, as there is a lot to discuss, but it's also difficult to talk about Billy Graham and not bring up his issues outside of the ring, and due to this, it becomes difficult to try and celebrate the man's career achievements after some of the things he has said and done. That being said, Superstars run with the championship in New York, the Harley Race unification match, and the Bob Backlund stories are all interesting talking points in my opinion. The karate gimmick is also worth looking into, just because it's insane to think someone would hurt their chances this much due to past experiences. Billy Graham instigated his own downfall on more than one occasion though, a fact that he freely admits in his highly recommended autobiography.